What radio? The music you want.
With your host, Keys Dan.
Nice, I like.
RadioWhat.com. What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me. Yes, me. Keys Dan at your next event. You know, I like to do the parties, weddings, and corporate events, and, well, you know, the video dance party, karaoke jams. I enjoy those so much. You're the stars of the show when you put karaoke into it. Oh, but I don't know how to sing, Keys Dan. Yeah, everybody knows how to sing, at least a little bit, and I'll make you sound as much as you can. Yeah, as much as I can. I'll make you sound real good. Today on the program, I have Shareef Haddad. Shareef Haddad is also known as GokaiWhite, and we'll be getting to know him just a little bit better on the program today. And you have that to look forward to in your ears. Yeah, exciting. Let's see, this week's shows. Ooh, I have 2 shows this week. On Friday night, I'm at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. That's my regular Friday night show. Video dance party, karaoke jam. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's at 8 p.m. until almost 2 in the a.m. That's the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. They have the full bar, the kitchen. They have a pool tournament on Friday nights. Yes, if you want to make some money while you're waiting to sing a song with me, you can be right there at the Rab. They got a pool tournament. Go talk to Jimmy, and maybe you can make some money while you're waiting. And if pool is not your forte, you can head out to the party patio. They got shuffleboard, foosball, darts, giant Jenga game, giant checkers game. So there's always something to do while you're waiting to sing on the stage with little old me. Video dance party, karaoke jam at the Rab, Friday night, 8 p.m. Be there. And then Saturday, I'm at the Heber Springs VFW, the big room, baby. That starts at 8:30 p.m. and we go till about 1 to 1:30 in the morning, something like that. And, such a nice room. Big. If I say big room. And the floor is just, they've got it all painted up brand new. The floor is all checkered and perfect for dancing. You know, they're going to have the video dance party karaoke jam going. And they have great singers. They do karaoke with somebody else during the week. And then they said, they're going to try to have me twice a month. And I said, please do. I love that room. And you know what was real sweet? The last time I was at the Heber Springs VFW, they put me on the marquee. I know I shouldn't get a big head about it. I shouldn't get all worked up about it, but they did. They put me on the marquee. It said, this weekend, Dan Keys, you know, and I know I'm Keys Dan, but it was so beautiful that they had me up there. Gorgeous. I'm so excited to be back at the Heber Springs BFW on Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. Be there. All right, without further ado, let's get into it with Shareef Haddad, the GokaiWhite, calling Shareef Haddad now.
Hello?
Shareef Haddad, please.
Yes, it's me, Shareef.
Hey, Shareef. It's Keys Dan with the What Makes You Famous podcast. How you doing, bub?
I'm doing good.
Well, all right.
I'm just waiting patiently for our appointment.
This is it. You're on. You're on the What Makes You Famous podcast. Fantastic.
No.
Give the people a little idea of who you are.
No, oh yeah. Yeah, well, anyway, no, my name is Shareef Haddad. I am a college student living in Laguna Niguel, California.
Okay, tell us more. What are you studying in college?
I'm studying creative writing and game development because I want to join with Square Enix, the company that makes the Final Fantasy series of the games. Because I want to share a lot of ideas I made for future games, some of which include a homemade Final Fantasy board game that I made originally as a class project.
I see that there's a YouTube video for that. How do people find that YouTube video for the My Final Fantasy board game? That way they can follow along as you're trying to explain how the game is.
I can't put up a link for that on my Facebook. They should find it there.
So tell me a little bit about this game. You say it was a class project, but you're turning it into something more.
Yes, that's right. At first, I had to rebrand it as something generic because I couldn't use the Final Fantasy trademark for the school presentation. The game so far involves Cloud and Tifa from Final Fantasy VII, Squall and Rinoa from 8, and Tidus and Yuna from 10.
Very cool. So how is the game played? I see that it's a board that is sectioned off into squares. What are the people doing on this board game?
Each player assembles the same number of for their party, and they're trying to take out the other party. But if I get in touch with Square Enix, we can make a digital version that allows for up to 4 players, and the unit can execute group attacks on multiple spaces, and because I want to add more characters like Lightning from Final Fantasy 13, for example, and even characters from other Square Enix IPs, including Sora from Kingdom Hearts.
Man, that sounds fantastic, Shareef Haddad. I mean, those two titles are very popular with the kids. I haven't played any Final Fantasy or Kingdom Hearts myself, but I'm aware that there are games, and I know that people really appreciate these games. Are these games that you've been playing for quite some time, or how long?
Yes,
how long have you been playing this?
I've been playing this since I first my older brother. I guess the original Final Fantasy VII for the original PlayStation. I'm not exactly looking forward to the remake yet, but I'm kind of hoping they would release a package containing the first 2 or 3 parts of the remake as originally released for PS4 later on. I think they might do that for PS5, even though I heard that the PS5 is going to support PS4 games.
Man, I hope that PS5 supports all the PS4 games. It should support everything down to the PS1. Every time a new game system comes out, I have to buy all new games again. It's crazy, Shareef Haddad.
Yes, I know. But what I'm really hoping for is that the PS4 can actually play physical copies of the old games, not just be digital download only.
Oh, absolutely. That's
what I'm really waiting for, because then I can sell my PS4 and my PS2 to make some of the money back.
Oh, you're wheeling and dealing, Shareef Haddad. All right, so you're a college student studying how to make video games, amongst other things. What else are you into, Shareef Haddad? Give the people a little idea of more about you.
I also like Super Robot anime because they're the primary influence behind Power Rangers, my favorite show as a child. And what I didn't know until much later, that it actually got most of its footage from the Super Sentai TV series in Japan, which explains why footage from certain shots appear grainy. By Rita Repulsa's lip movements don't always match with her dialogue, among other things.
Yep, Shareef Haddad. I did catch that documentary on Netflix. There's a whole documentary that explains how those Power Rangers were taken. I think, was it the late 80s or the early 90s? And they just put them together with American actors.
The first Rangers that we got from the 90s, they were actually the Kyoryu Sentai Z Ranger, which is actually the 16th season. And they've been around since 1975, with the real first team being called Himitsu Sentai Go Ranger.
Absolutely. It's amazing how that was done. I mean, because they did the same thing with Godzilla back in the 60s. They just took all the footage that was Japanese, and then they put Raymond Burr into it, so they had an American actor that was just jammed in. They just made some scenes. The same thing they did with the Power Rangers, where they just found some American actors, and since everybody was in costume, they didn't have to worry so much. They could just pretend that those were the same guys.
Yeah. In fact, I heard that the late and great Stan Lee wanted to do the same thing with Taiyo Sentai's Sun Vulcan, the fifth Super Sentai.
Wow.
But
see, that part I didn't know.
Actually, I have him to thank for allowing Marvel to work closely with Toei to make Battle Fever J after they did their own take with Spider-Man with the real first Megazord called Leopardon. Some people would call it the Spider Megazord or Spidey Bot, but having so much more respect for the Power Rangers roots, I kind of prefer to address them by their Japanese names from now on.
Wow, you've gone that far. You're really into the fandom, Shareef Haddad. That's fantastic. See, I haven't bothered to learn the Japanese names. I have a 14-year-old daughter that's learning Japanese, and I'm very excited for her to learn all this. And I had someone on my Instagram respond to me in Japanese, so I Googled, translated, and responded back in kind. So have you learned any Japanese besides the names of the original Power Rangers?
Yes, I know a lot of things behind my favorite series, some of which include Transformers, which is also actually a Japanese import, and
Amazing. So what?
Yeah, but I kind of digress here. So,
no worries.
Which topic would you like me to talk about the next?
This story.
Ready for Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 15 Complete, Laravan's Bizarre Adventure, Final Fantasy 16 War of the Sanctimonies, or Bionic Fantasy.
All of it. Start at the beginning and work your way out. Give me all your expertise. Let all the people know what Shareef Haddad is really into, and all the things that you're expert in, or that you're really into, that you're a fan of.
Thank you. I've been getting into the roots of the super robot genre by watching shows like Getter Robo and Mazinger Z. And one of those such shows I watched, a spin-off called Getter Robo Armageddon. You should really check into it someday when you get the chance.
Well, now that you've said it, I know the people are going to be looking it up, finding out more about what Shareef Haddad is into. Now, I'm looking on your Facebook, and you have a series of things that are in your bio. First off, you did want to mention that you're an advocate supporter at Sarah Serenity Magical Cosplay.
That's correct. I am the one who started the petition for her to get her character into Kingdom Hearts.
Yes, and if you haven't listened to that podcast, it is available. And if you look at Shareef Haddad's Facebook page, he went ahead and reshared it, so you can take a listen to that. But then beyond that, we have Tough Boys 2 Supermen. What is that all about?
I got that off. I got the name from the theme song for Fist of the North Star 2, which is called Tough Boy, and the second part from the DC Comics superhero Superman, of course.
Wow, you're a man
it was
of.
a little brief stint I did to try and sell jewelry-based items and accessories on Etsy, but I'm not really doing that anymore. Now I just mainly sell what I don't want on eBay.
What is it you sell on eBay?
I just sell some of my old toys that I don't want anymore, or outdated versions, so I can get new versions later on. Because, like I said, I do a lot of research for my things, and I also look at toy reviews to see which updated version I should get.
Excellent. Well, you definitely have to share on your Facebook page the link for your eBay, so that way I can put it in the show notes here on this podcast, talking to Shareef Haddad. And it says that all right, amongst other things, I'm going to keep going down your bio on Facebook, and it says that you were an intern in Irvine BMW. Are you into the BMWs?
No, not really. I was just doing that for job experience.
I like that.
I was with the Life College for the past 2 years or so now.
Very cool. Now, it says you studied English at the College of the Canyons. Is English not your first language?
It is my first language. Meant to say that I studied English other areas or schools, but again, I kind of digressed here, so I'll just get back to Sarah Serenity for now.
Go anywhere you want, Shareef Haddad. Anywhere you want. The podcast is yours.
Yes, thank you. Anyway, I was on Facebook one day, and I heard about this autistic girl who had the same disability as I do, and I looked into her original character. Her name was Sarah Serenity, and I was really impressed, and I thought this could help me with my own road to Square Enix. I could get in touch with this Sarah Cohen, and I could share my own ideas with her and see what she thinks of them, and then we should try to get through to Tetsuya Nomura, the Kingdom Hearts creator, so that we can in turn show him our ideas, and we can put them to work.
Well, Shareef Haddad, I'm sure that Sarah Serenity Magical Cosplay is happy to have you in her corner. Have you spoken to Sarah much lately?
No, we text each other often, but yes, we have talked on the phone on occasion and on PS4 live chat, SharePlay chat actually, but the first thing I thought about doing with Sarah Serenity was including her in a concept I wrote for a Kingdom Hearts Flash animation series I call Kingdom Hearts The Third Ragnarok. But instead of having first-party Disney properties like Mickey Mouse, we're including the acquired properties like Marvel and even some of DreamWorks properties, including Shrek, because Shrek was in its early stages largely a salute to Disney, from what I've heard. And one reason I thought including Marvel and DreamWorks properties in such a Kingdom Hearts project would work so well is because in the third Shrek and third Thor movie, they both had the same song, Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin. I thought about mashing those up, and for instance, if I were to have intended the third Ragnarok to be a video game, then Immigrant Song would be the main boss theme.
Wow, you have some plans, Shareef Haddad, and I hope that that the higher ups of Disney, the producers at Disney, are listening, because I definitely want you to be able to get a hold of them and use their IP and play in their sandbox. Now, I noticed that. Well, I'm watching the Mandalorian amongst other things, and what is it? Oh my goodness! Oh, Jon Favreau is playing in that sandbox, and I want you to be able to be like that, to where you can take the IP of someone else and create something and perhaps introduce a project of your own using their characters, and perhaps they'll be interested and help you to put that forth. Is that something that you're interested in doing, Shareef Haddad?
Heck yes, I'm interested.
Oh yes, please, Disney, listen. And Shareef Haddad is in there. Now, one thing that you mentioned that that you share with Sarah Serenity is the affliction, or that you're living with autism. How does that affect you?
Not badly, I can tell you. In fact, I kind of have my autism to thank for why I'm such a good person compared to other people. Well, like I said, when I first heard about Sarah, I knew that I could easily sympathize with her situation, because I too feel like people don't understand me with my autism, and I really think that her intention of making Sarah Serenity the first Disney princess with a disability by proxy is a huge step towards making the world a better place.
I believe you. I mean, I just met you, and we just started talking, and I like you already, Shareef Haddad. Now, let's go through some of the links that you sent me. One of the links was a DeviantArt.com link, and it was the new bizarre adventures of Laravan, and this is a pilot. Is this something that you put together?
Talk about that next. I named it with the anime JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in mind, of course, but I really got most of the inspiration from movies like The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, in the Star Wars, and Disney's Aladdin, both the animated and the live-action remake from last year. And one interesting of note in this little project, I call it Laravan's Bizarre Adventure now, because at first I kind of didn't want to take the risk of being sued by the guy who wrote JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because that's why I kind of had to make the previous title kind of a mouthful. But anyway, I invented this alien race called Sanakians. That's S-A apostrophe. Wait, it's a S-A hyphen N-A-A-K-I-A-N. Sanakian. It's derived from the Japanese word for fish, but I rearranged the letters to give it more of a Middle Eastern ring. And I invented the Sanakians with SpongeBob SquarePants in mind, as a joke way of explaining how bikini bottomites can live on land. Apparently, the Sanakians are amphibious creatures, and that's I also got inspiration from the Namekians in Dragon Ball Z.
You are teaching me.
I came up with some.
You are teaching me so much, Shareef Haddad. Now, what you have in text on the website that you've made on DeviantArt, is this a screenplay of some kind? Are you writing it in screenplay form, or perhaps something that can be acted out? Or
I'm just writing it in a web serial form for now, but it does definitely look like something that could be turned into a screenplay. Or actually, I was thinking maybe it could be a flash animation or something once I get in touch with the right people and form a team, because there are certain areas that I'm an expert at already, but others are just a pain. So that's another reason why Power Rangers is so important to me. It taught me the value of teamwork and diversity. So that's why I really believe I should get like a team first before we go into the graphical designs and stuff. But anyway, I came up with some joke names for the Sanakians, like Dolphin Lundgren, like a parody of Dolph Lundgren, who played Drago from Rocky IV, and the Carlton Banks, as in Carlton Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I like that. Very creative. Well, Shareef Haddad, it sounds like you're a team player, and that's one thing that you have to learn is that things often don't get done on your own. Yes, you can come up with a concept, but to put it into action, you need to form a team. Now, are you learning all of this? Are you learning any of these skills for making animation at Irvine Valley College or College of the Canyons, either one of those?
No, I'm just learning the plot conceptualization skills, but then I'll be able to look for people who can help in the animation department and the modeling.
So have you gone to any of these other schools, the other classes, and tried to find some people that could help you put your plan into fruition?
Yeah, I can try doing that in college later on this year, because I'm going to be starting a new semester with the creative writing.
I am so excited for you, Shareef Haddad. That's fantastic. I mean, you've already written so much. This web series, all these words are written by you, because this is amazing. I'm looking all the way down your web series. This is all something that came out of your mind? Yeah,
and well, actually, I got some of the characters from Final Fantasy and Tomb Raider. I just thought it would be a good idea to cross Final Fantasy 12 over with the Tomb Raider, because the Tomb Raider has been acquired by Square Enix recently, and I thought it would be pretty cool. So the story wrote it's actually more of a prologue to a fan-made Metroidvania game where Lara Croft and Vaughn from Final Fantasy 12 are going into a newly discovered pyramid where 13 super robots called GokaiWhite are said to be sleeping, and they're going in there because Lara Croft's enemies, the Trinity organization, have also discovered these pyramids, and they're trying to awaken the GokaiWhite for evil purposes.
Now, I remember in one of the Tomb Raiders with Lara Croft, starring Angelina Jolie, she did fight some robots. Is that where you got the inspiration for this?
Yeah, actually, the robots I'm using are more inspired from shows like Mazinger Z and Get a Robo in mind, and the gameplay aspect for that fan game that I hope I can make soon. It was heavily Mega Man influenced, like you can take on 12 of the 13 GokaiWhites in any order, and there's a Mode 7 style world map where you can drive a car to avoid random encounters. But if you do get into a random encounter, you'll switch to the side-scrolling format, where you can fight the enemies or just run away.
All right, Shareef Haddad. Now, could you go through the character list? I noticed that I clicked on a link and there was a character list for the new Bizarre Adventures of Laravan, your pilot that's available on DeviantArt.
The main characters, of course, are Vaughn and Lara, and the name Laravan refers to their shipping name, because they're going to be because they're actually going to develop a relationship. I took a deal with games like The Last of Us in mind. That I'm aware of how those games that were able to establish rich protagonists, and that's my influence for me wanting Vaughn and Lara to be in a relationship. But the continuity for Laravan was established with a manga adaptation of Final Fantasy XII in mind, and also the 2018 Tomb Raider movie.
Amazing, and you know,
I also created original characters like Zana and Egyptian Trinity agent who killed Lara's friend Lu Ren, and now she wants revenge. But that's another reason Vaughn wants to stick with her, because he's trying to make sure she doesn't descend into the same single-track revenge lust that he and Princess Ash, another character from FF12, had for the game's antagonist, the Arcadian Empire, because it turns out that the Empire was just the instrument of their suffering, not the cause.
Well, I see that you have pictures of Lara Croft. That's a very well-known character. Pictures of Von Ratsbane, and you have a picture of your original character, Zaina. Very pretty. Who is this person?
Yeah, well, actually, that's just a template for taken from someone else. So this is actually an altered skin of Lisa Hamilton from Dead or Alive. Another series which I'm really, really into.
Sounds like you get a lot of inspiration from all these animes and video games and the like.
Different sources. That's right. And now on to the some other OCs or original characters. One of them is called Majin Boom, a fat gamer who took his name from Majin Buu from Dragon Ball Z.
Yes, Majin Boom, and that's spelled with an 800 for the boom. Instead of a B, it's 800 boom.
And Bass Borat, a small robot who talks and acts like Chris Tucker, which I did as an homage to his roles in Money Talks and Rush Hour.
Oh, yes. And he was great in The Fifth Element as well, as Ruby Rod. That was just fantastic. The way he talks, he's so fast.
Yeah. And even if I can't actually get Tucker to do the voice, I can imitate the voice pretty well.
Come on, do it.
For instance, when he was asking Vaughn if he had any similar incidents happen to him, like Aladdin, because early on in the story he calls Vaughn Aladdin because of many parallels that he has with the Disney character. And so, for instance, he and Boom asked Vaughn while they were in their prison cell if he had a monkey sidekick or if he had got involved in musical numbers and that kind of thing. But Vaughn says no to most of those questions, and then Bat's like, "Then what the Samuel Jackson kind of shit that are you?" I'm of course referring to
ladies and gentlemen. That was not Chris Tucker. That was Shareef Haddad doing a Chris Tucker impression. That was fantastic.
It's the Sam Hill Jackson. It's both a reference to the actor Samuel L. Jackson and the expression "What's the Sam Hill?"
I like that. I like that a lot. Oh my goodness, you have a very creative mind, Shareef Haddad, and I'm so appreciative to be talking to you here on the What Makes You Famous podcast. All right, so you have that Lara, the Bizarre Adventures of Laravan. That's a pilot that you've been working on, and we've been going through the characters a little bit. Any other avenues that you want to explore, Shareef Haddad?
Yes. And a few years earlier in 2018, I was playing with some Final Fantasy and Lego Bionicle figures, and then I just got this killer idea for a Bionicle crossover with Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 10. I only included those three titles whose characters were designed by Tetsuya Nomura for the same reason he included strictly characters from those titles in the Kingdom Hearts at first.
So is this what I have a link to Bionic Fantasy? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that is correct. It is a web serial I wrote and made available on a site called biostory.wikia.com.
Yep, I have the link, and I will definitely put that in the show notes as well. Can you go through a little bit about what Bionic Fantasy is?
No, okay. It takes place on a post-apocalyptic island called Ankoku Nui, and it is ravaged by all kinds of terrible pestilences, and it is a living organism sustained by a crystal, much like how Final Fantasy VII suggests that the planet is an organism in its themes about environmentalism, and the planet of Ankoku Nui is dying because of the Dai Shinra organization, which means Great Shinra. And if you follow the Bionicle lore, then it would also be called Shinra Nui. Both Dai means great in Japan, and the Nui means great in Matoran. So whatever name, whether you call it Dai Shinra or Shinra Nui, it's always going to mean great Shinra. It is a new off-planet sector of the Shinra Electric Power Company that was established by Makuta, another original character I created. And as a side effect of the experiments he's been conducting that have been damaging the time-space continuum, the Toa Metru from the 2004 to 2005 story arc of Bionicle, which is said to have happened before the 2001 through 3 story arc with the original Toa.
So impressive, Shareef Haddad. And I noticed that you write under a pseudonym. What's the pseudonym that you write under?
It's GokaiWhite. I got the name from the Gokaigers, the 35th Super Sentai, and the White are from the fact that the White Ranger, who's actually Kiba Ranger from Dai Ranger, was one of me and my older brother's favorite Rangers from back when we were watching Power Rangers, and we still didn't know what it really came from.
Wow, Shareef Haddad, just a kid from California. You're just out there in Laguna Niguel, California. Did I say that right? Laguna Niguel?
Laguna Niguel.
Niguel. Now, you've spent your whole life in Laguna Niguel. What is all that about?
I didn't spend my whole life in Laguna Niguel. I spent the majority of my life in Tehachapi, moving in between to Bakersfield at times. And in 2013, we moved from Tehachapi to Stevenson Ranch in Valencia. And we lived there for a couple of years before eventually settling down here in Laguna Niguel.
Wow.
Where I am now.
Moving around a lot. So you're living with the parents?
Yes. It's mostly just my mom. My dad is still in Tehachapi managing his business.
Fantastic. But you still keep in touch?
Yes, we do keep in touch.
Well, that's good. Shareef Haddad got a good family life, living in California, looking for Disney or anyone to produce his ideas. You're coming up with some great ideas, though.
Yes, but the ideas I'm talking about in this interview are especially Square Enix related. And now back to Bionic Fantasy. I chose Cloud Strife, Tifa Lockhart, Squall, Leonhardt, Renoa Hartley, Titus, and Yuna to be part of an all-human Toa team called the Toa Luminous, which would mean Warriors of Light in Matoran.
Wow. I mean, it just all sounds so fantastic. Right now, I of course, I'm into the Marvel superhero shows. Right now, the family is watching all the Star Wars movies. We're in the middle of the Clone Wars. We're watching them from beginning to end. All these, and my daughter is definitely into the video games. And it sounds like all this fandom that you have soaked it in from a young age. You and your brother were playing these games, and you have taken it into the fandom and have been able to create your own stories using some of their characters, but also creating some of your own characters. I know I'm just summarizing. This is great, though.
Yes, Bionic Fantasy was just a major step in my road to being a creative director like Tetsuya Nomura, one of the original characters I made for that story, his name is Jikanmu. He is the Toa of Time, who wears the Kanohi Vahi, the legendary mask of time, and
Okay, yes. Jakaim Namu. I'm looking him up there.
I designed him with a dragoon from the Final Fantasy series in mind, making a pose like Kane Highwind in Final Fantasy IV. And I wrote out an entire biography for him, including who I think should be his English and Japanese voice actors.
Wow.
Like, for his English voice, I think it should be Norman Reedus of The Walking Dead.
Wow.
I'm doing it as a favor to my friend Sarah, who I would let be the voice of Tifa.
Yes. And I know that she's very into Norman Reedus, for sure. Now, that is your protagonist, Jikanamu, but you have an antagonist as well that you've created.
No, Jikanamu's not a main protagonist. It's more of an ensemble story where everyone's the main protagonist. Like in Final Fantasy VI, for example, that had an ensemble cast.
I think we mentioned that before, Shareef Haddad. You're able to work as a team, part of a team, works well with others. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, actually, Bionic Fantasy was just one of the things I did on my own. Well, the web serial, anyway. Jikanu is a Toa from Ankoku Nui, and he has been fighting the dark forces, which have corrupted the planet, and as for the Japanese voice actor, I chose the same person who does Genesis Rhapsodos from Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, a musical artist by the name of Gakt Kamui. I own some of his singles, and I decided to use one of the songs called Returner, Demise of Darkness, as the ending theme of Bionic Fantasy, because one of the main themes of the story is about the Toa and humans trying to get back home.
You have put so much thought into this, Shareef Haddad. And I noticed, yes, on your biostory.fandom.com wiki, and I will definitely put the link to this story. There is a cast of characters and all the voices that you want to have voicing these characters. Are you doing this from memory, or are you reading this? Because it sounds like you have a great memory for the stuff that you've created.
Yes, I am doing this for memory.
Wow, the man is really in tune with his creation. I mean, it would take, even if I created it yesterday or I've been studying it for 4 years, I would still have to look back on it. You have a mind that is sharp as a tack, Mr. Shareef Haddad, and I appreciate you talking with me today. This is great. So tell me anything more about your avenues of creativity.
A little bit. So, but first, one of the plot points I really wanted to get into with Bionic Fantasy was a series that connects the worlds of Final Fantasy 10 and 7 together. Because in Final Fantasy 10-2, there's this Albed character named Shinra who discovers a means to refine energy from the far plane for everyday use, and that process takes about 1,000 years, and when his descendants are finally perfected the process, they're able to travel the stars and find the planet where Final Fantasy 7 is supposed to take place, and that's supposedly how the Shinra company got its roots from, and that's another reason why I stuck to only Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 10 as the representing Final Fantasies in Bionic Fantasy. I was originally going to take over where Monty Allen left off in producing a Dead Fantasy, but then I had decided to just to go through with my own thing, Bionic Fantasy.
How long did it take to write this fandom for the Bionic Fantasy?
It took months, at least 2 or 3 months.
Oh, well, there's just so much there. I expected it would take a few months for that, because I'm looking at, you have so much out there. You have stuff on this Getter Robo wiki that's a Getter Robo Nero. I'm not sure what all that's about, and
it's an idea I have for a live-action movie trilogy set in its own continuity, where the titular robot would just be called Nero, to kind of try to distance it from the Getter Robo mythos at first, and it's supposed to have a multinational cast, like a British actor as the pilot of the Getter Bat, for example, and an African female piloting the Getter Panther, and a Japanese male piloting the Getter Condor. And I haven't designed the Getter Robo Nero yet, but its first configuration, Nero Onus, is supposed to be based around Batman, and then Nero Duos based around Black Panther, and finally Nero Tress is based around the Black Condor from one of the lost seasons of Power Rangers, the Chojin Sentai Jetman.
So much coming from your brain. That's Unis, Duos, and Trace. So that's 1, 2, 3. I like that. The Final Fantasy games gave me the idea to use a Latin naming structure for Getter Robo Nero. Yeah, just give them the old 1, 2, 3. That's how any boxer would do it. Fighters do 1, 2, 3 all the time. I like that.
In fact, the original Getter Robo was named Getter 1 for its default configuration, with the Getter Eagle forming the head, for example.
Amazing. That's Shareef Haddad. GokaiWhite. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you said it's right. GokaiWhite.
Now, you write most of your things under the pseudonym GokaiWhite?
That is correct.
Amazing. So, okay, take me more. Tell me more. Tell me everything. Well, there's so much that's out there. You've already put so much out into the world. GokaiWhite, Shareef Haddad. I mean, tell any other explorations that you want to go through.
Yes. Now on to Final Fantasy Final Fantasy 15 and complete for PlayStation 5. Basically, it's going to be a PlayStation 5 port of Final Fantasy, but with the canceled Dawn of the Future DLC being restored in that port. Because I just heard about how Square just recently released Final Fantasy 15 on Stadia with a new features. So that should really give me the hope that they can still redo the DLC in its original format.
I think the people know just a little bit about you. Oh my goodness, where do they find you? Because I noticed that you have a Patreon page. Is that how you're attempting to?
Yeah, I was. At one point, I was going. I wanted to do a fundraiser to help Square Enix be able to get the project up and running again.
Well, fantastic. That's the patreon.com /GokaiWhite. And I'll definitely put that in the show notes so people know how to get a hold of you, and perhaps they can help to support your different projects. I want to see these on the big screen, or, at least have you thrown anything on the YouTube? I mean, besides the, I noticed that you had the board game. Do you have anything else out there?
Yes, I have posted, I have posted some gameplay videos of Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, I'm looking at them right now. I'll definitely put the YouTube channel up there so people know how to get a hold of Shareef Haddad on YouTube. Check that out. Any other places that you want people to connect with you?
Yeah, I also have Instagram and Twitter, of course, and I also did an entire video of why I feel Kingdom Hearts needs their Serenity, and why having an autistic Disney princess would be good for Disney and Square Enix both.
I definitely found that link. It says make Sarah Serenity an official character in the Kingdom Hearts series, and there's a whole link.
That's a petition I started that my friend mentioned. So it would mean the world for us to, if you shared it as far and wide as you can. And it's just a shame, really, that a lot of people are not seeing things the way we are. The Sokai psychos, as Sarah puts it. Well, I actually agree with Tetsuya Nomura's statements that Sora and Kai are just friends. So I thought, why not make Sarah Serenity Sora's real love interest, but Sora and Sarah can still remain friends on like a platonic measure, of course. And
well, you're very sweet, Mr. Shareef Haddad, GokaiWhite. I'm glad Sarah's got you as a friend. You're a big supporter of her, but in your own right, you have your own things that you have created. And I want you to be able to be a part of the team and get some people that can help you put these things together and get them off the ground. And perhaps one day we'll watch your anime, your cartoons, your live action shows and movies. Shareef Haddad, the GokaiWhite. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I might just be in charge of a studio called GokaiWhite Studios or GokaiWhite Productions. And
where can we find that?
It's not really something that exists yet, but it's something that I'm planning on for the future.
Coming soon. So this is where Shareef Haddad was, and now where he is, and in the future, we're looking for a production studio. He'll be making his own production company.
Yeah, a freelance production studio that works with the companies that require their licenses to use the characters that I've used. I would be doing freelance work with Kingdom Hearts.
Well, you're in the right spot. You're in California, not too far from Hollywood.
and the Square Enix branch at El Segundo. I have been making plans to go there myself for a long, long time.
I like that. I like that, man. So, hey,
I have I had a lot of ideas where if Yondu Udanta was a summoned character in a future Kingdom Hearts game, he would make his entrance like, oh no! And then use his curve arrow on enemy Heartless and stuff.
Well, Shareef Haddad, you even have an IMDb page. You're all ready to go. Let's put some credits out there. That's fantastic.
I also make up on my list like a list for a Dreamcast for a live-action adaptation of my Final Fantasy 15 complete concept with Keanu Reeves as Noctis and Norman Reedus as Arden Izunia, and in the Final Fantasy 15, there's a king called Optimus Lucis Kylum, and that got Optimus Prime on my mind. So I thought I should definitely list Optimus as a voice actor, Peter Cullen as the voice of Optimus Lucis Kylum as a nod to another one of my favorite fandoms.
I like the way you think, man. You have lofty goals, and you've picked a lot of times. Hey, I've heard of movies that get written for certain actors in mind, and sometimes it works out. Sometimes that actor says, that is a good project. That does sound good to me. And they give it a shot. And who knows? It could happen. It really could happen. I'm so excited for you, Shareef Haddad, and I look forward to talking to you in the future as time progresses and things move forward in your life. Besides the studio, how much longer do you have in college? What's on the horizon for you? Uh-oh, I think I lost you. Well, all right, party people, it looks like the phone has cut off. I think we'll have to continue this using Instant Messenger, so it will sound a little bit different for the rest of the podcast.
There are only two more subjects I want to talk about.
Oh,
First
go ahead. Yeah.
It's
Fire away.
Final Fantasy 15 complete. And as for that, no, without spoiling the ending of the game, I can tell you that the real bad guy got away with what he wanted, which is his self-preservation. Because if we were going to be taking the context of a previous numbered games to account, then that person or creature, or actually a god that we're talking about, was once an ally of justice who became disillusioned with the restrictions placed upon him thanks to the mortal man's notion of what is good and what's bad. He was sick and tired of having to play by the rules of the Warriors of Light, including Cloud, for example, because he's just one of many of his summoners. So to destroy the next big threat to the universe, that he wanted to do it his way, regardless of what the people think of him. So he was willing to lie and falsify the history of the Lucian kings, from which Noctis is descended. And the episode Arden of Final Fantasy 15 goes further into this, and the Final Fantasy 15 Dawn of the Future novel, which I'm going to be buying, is going to cast that certain somebody in the negative light that I now believe it is. Just when I discovered that he is the reason why Final Fantasy 15 ended on such a sour note at first. I just thought, what the heck? How can he get away with this? I thought we were on the same side. But now I see he was only out for his self-preservation. And it's like he doesn't care about individual lives anymore. And that he was only just using us to achieve godhood. And now he's nothing but a self-centered hypocrite and a traitor to everything the Warriors of Light stand for. And that is why I can agree with those who think Final Fantasy 15 should be the last numbered game in the series. And that's kind of what led me to develop the Versus 15 story. The Versus 15 theory, which states that the ending of the game of Final Fantasy 15, it never really happened. It was just a dream sequence because very late into FF15, Noctis was supposed to go into crystal sleep after being told that he must sacrifice himself to end the threat of Arden. But then he starts seeing visions of why Arden really became evil. And so after seeing himself die to fulfill the prophecy, he decided that being with his beloved Lunafrey in the afterlife is not worth jeopardizing the emotional health of his friends, because the way I see it, his retinue, including Gladio, Prompto, and Ignis, are not just gonna take this lying down and move on, because the way I can see it, Prompto would most likely fall into depression and commit suicide, kind of like how I heard my friend Sarah did, but except she survived thanks to her fiance, for which I'll be forever grateful to him for. And then Ignis would become a ruthless vigilante, killing those who worship the gods. And Gladio, well, he's gonna pull a fat Thor and become a drunken slob to punish himself for failing to protect his best friend. I can really empathize with them that it isn't fair. Just because you're a god, that you're the highest authority in the known universe, it doesn't automatically put you in the right. That if you're just going to lie to people and disregard their personal feelings all like this, then you're a selfish hypocrite and a terrible person who betrayed the values of good and evil, and that morals just don't matter to you. Only your own twisted narrative of the natural laws of the universe, and that is why why I always tell my parents that we have to be extra careful around people like Donald Trump, because you could have ulterior motives in mind, and that we can't just let them get away with it. So I also took that into inspiration when designing the villain for Bionic Fantasy, which is the Makuta Scriptorek. He wants to prove that those who write history as the winners are justified, whether they are good and or evil, and that good and evil does not matter anymore. Only who's in charge, and that the writers of history can do whatever they want, but without being called out by the masses for it. And I'm glad that the Square Enix team is going to rectify that mistake by releasing Dawn of the Future in novel format, to say the least.
Shareef Haddad, so much passion, so much knowledge. I like it. I like the way you talk.
Yeah, yeah. What's the great betrayer, as I like to call him without spoiling his name, symbolizes is religious hypocrisy, treachery, and amoralism, and the idea of the ends justifying the means, and history being written by the winners, which I am firmly against, because by canceling all the DLC, it's almost like Square Enix is teaching its fan base a very bad lesson that people like the Great Betrayer can do horrible things and still be considered a hero, and still get away with his actions.
Well, it's been happening since the dawn of time, Shareef Haddad. The winners always get to write their own stories because the losers are sometimes not there. The ones that have been defeated are sometimes not able to write their stories.
And that's kind of the point of what's called Gnosticism, which is kind of touched upon Final Fantasy X. That on her pilgrimage, Yuna discovers the forbidden knowledge that the main religion practiced in her world is actually linked to the origins of the monstrous sin, and that the founder of the religion, Yevon, who's named Yevon, is ironically responsible for sin's existence. He had good intentions in mind at first, but then the sin just spiraled out of control and started destroying more than he should, and that's why people think sin is their punishment for their vanity. But but the people who preach it so are actually a circle, a den of snakes, and they had to be exposed in order for order and fairness to be truly restored, because they're just perpetuating an endless spiral of death, and that's why the world is called a spira. It's taken from the word spiral, and that's how I make these stories so deep, by studying the symbolism and the meanings. Like the Makuta scriptrek is also symbolic of the idea of history is written by the winners, and that he is meant to illustrate the point that we should that we can't just take what our leaders say to heart. That we have to look into what they're actually doing and discover the truth, so that they can be defeated and things can finally return to normal.
Shareef Haddad, you've given people a lot of food for thought, a lot of ideas, and you've gone deep. You're definitely studying, and you have a grasp on what you believe, and I think a lot of people probably think the same way. That we should not be worried about defeating others, and we should get along with others and work with others, and not try to defeat the people, and write our own stories. I know there's more that you'd say.
Because the only people who should be defeated are the ones who started the conflict in the first place, because the greater betrayer wanted to destroy the world of Eos as its first resort, and the other gods knew that this was wrong, and that he cannot get away with it. So even though they saved the world, they could not stop the great betrayer from rewriting history to his liking, and orchestrating the plot to get rid of the Lucian and the Noxafluid bloodlines in one fell swoop.
I'm getting confused about the blurring of the lines between fantasy and reality. where are you falling in all this?
That's exactly. That's the point. The Great Betrayer is trying to misrepresent the true history behind the Great War of Old and the beginning of the Lucian dynasty to avoid having to sacrifice himself to destroy the plague that Arden Izunia is spreading. In fact, he is the reason Arden Izunia became banned in the first place, this is what the crystal is trying to show Noctis during his crystal sleep, that it made a terrible mistake, and that Noctis needs to defy fate in order to set everything right.
Well, Shareef Haddad, I'm not the smartest man in the world, and I think I've maybe understood maybe 3 or 4 words out of the last 10 that you said. I think the people can get a hold of you and perhaps talk in more length. And, man, I'd like to hear the Shareef Haddad, the GokaiWhite podcast. I think you could start one of your own. It seems like you have lots of ideas that you could put out there. And I know that you have a SoundCloud that you've started, and some of your things are out there on the SoundCloud. Perhaps people can go there and find out more about you.
All right, but enough about Final Fantasy 15 complete now. All that the point I'm trying to make is that Square Enix needs to learn about my versus 15 theory and actually implement it into making Final Fantasy 15 complete to give us the experience that we all feel we deserve, and finally give the Final Fantasy 15 saga some proper closure. But now, my last subject matter I want to talk about is my concept for Final Fantasy 16.
Okay.
It's supposed to be take place in a mostly epic fantasy world. Think Lord of the Rings, for example. But one of the cities, which I've tentatively called Neo-Mysidia, is supposed to be a modern urban Europe meets modern rural Japan, and the main character is a female called Kiyu. That's Kiyu, and her name is taken from the Japanese word for snow, in a deliberate homage to Tetsuya Nomura's naming scheme for the main characters he's designed. Like Sora is named after the sky, and Cloud, Squall, and Tidus are named after things associated with the sky. And perhaps the most interesting of all is that I also based Kiyu off Sarah Cohen as a way to return for introducing me to such a great idea as Disney's first autistic princess, if only by proxy.
Fantastic.
I'm even thinking of getting Sarah to voice Kiyu, and I wrote out a list of the main characters, and it's the main premises of the story is basically a Transformers kind of a story in a epic fantasy setting, but with kind of a both sides are wrong kind of twist to a plot much late in the story. But of course, I'm not putting the full details of that onto my treatment, which I put up on DeviantArt. On the good side, which is the Espers, is Lord Alexander, and the Espers Shiva, Quetzalcoatl, Phoenix, Ixion, Titan, and Leviathan. And the main bad guys led by Lord Odin are Ifrit, Midgard, Zormer, Bismarck, Bahamut, and Ramo, and Fenrir.
Okay.
And for Final Fantasy 16, I'm intending to break some trends like revealing that the main protagonist's mother is still alive, and also making her a playable character. Her mother's name is going to be Rosa. It's an anagram of Sora, in keeping with the naming scheme. And the main character's boyfriend is going to be called Ame, after the Japanese word for rain. And the two Final Fantasy mainstays called Biggs and Wedge are going to be permanent playable characters for the first time. And there's going to be a dark-skinned lady called Letas, named after Petals. She's supposed to be a gender bend of Barrett Wallace from Final Fantasy VII in many respects.
Shareef, Haddad, you've got my head spinning, man. You've got so many ideas, and I don't think we can spout them all here on this one podcast. Oh my goodness, you have got me spinning, and I love it. I love it. You've got so many ideas. The people are going to be able to get a hold of you. I've got all the links, and I want you to know that I've appreciated you chit-chatting with me, Shareef. Please give a few last words for the people, and let's wrap this up.
Oh, no, all right. But before that, I also kind of chose who I wanted to voice whom in the Final Fantasy 16 treatment I wrote. Like I already said, Sarah's going to voice Kyu, but I'm also thinking of getting Sean Patrick Flannery to do the main character's boyfriend's voice, and Tiffany Haddish to do Latasp, and a voice actor named Robbie Stevens, who played Foxidus in Assassin's Creed Origins, to do the voice of Wedge, and Michael Rooker, who was Yondu Danta, to voice Biggs, kind of as a little homage to The Walking Dead, because Rooker used to be with Norman Reedus as brothers, so. And taking into account my friend's love for The Walking Dead, I figured it'd be a little a cool idea to try out to have Rooker be the uncle to Flannery's character, and finally Rosa, Kyu's mother, who I created as an homage to Sarah's dead mother. She's gonna have the same English and Japanese voice actresses as Asuka Langley Soryu from this classic anime called the Neon Genesis Evangelion. I even sent an email to the English voice actress Tiffany Grant. She thought it was a great idea, and she said she was very flattered, and she would love to work on the Final Fantasy series someday.
Fantastic.
And that's about it. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I welcome all the support you can give me to helping me and Sarah make our dreams come true. And the last words I would like to leave to you is that reality is only harsh and disappointing if we do nothing to improve it for the better. The exact wording is, reality is only harsh and disappointing if we do nothing to change it for the better. Because I'm a doer, but I'm a thinker first and a doer a second. Because I believe there's always another way just waiting to be found, and that facialism is not as benign as most people would like to believe it to be, because whenever if I ever come up across Sarah's haters, I would just ask them, is that what you truly believe, or are you just trying to use the harsh reality you are creating yourself as an excuse to get away with this kind of hypocrisy and nonsense?
Well, there you have it, party people. So many ideas from Shareef Haddad. Oh my goodness. The GokaiWhite himself. He's the creator of Bionic Fantasy and a longtime fan of super robots and video games. Save Spider-Man. He's a big supporter of Sarah Serenity. Of course, he wants her to get everything that she has been hoping for. I think she wants to be a character on Kingdom Hearts. So, yeah. That's one thing that he's doing is supporting her. But so many ideas. I've heard of fan fiction and using, playing in other people's sandboxes and using other people's IP and putting out your own, maybe not for money. I mean, you can't really make money off of other people's IP, but you can definitely play in their sandbox and hopefully Disney or the people at Marvel who are also owned by Disney, but the people at Final Fantasy and the creators will find the stuff that Haddad is that Shareef Haddad is writing very interesting, and perhaps they'll want to incorporate it into their own canon and put it out live action or make video games out of it and maybe throw a couple bucks at Shareef Haddad. It's a way to make a living. And the people need to be entertained. And Shareef Haddad has so many ideas. He was going step by step over Final Fantasy 15 and 16, and my goodness, my head was spinning. But I know he's got so much information. He just wants to put it all out there, and I'm glad that he put at least a little bit of it out there. And if you're interested in learning more, I encourage you to go find Shareef Haddad. He's everywhere. He's got so many different outlets beyond the social media. But he's also got some. Well, I guess it's all social media, the LinkedIn but the different creative avenues where he's got his fan fiction that's been put out there. And I have all the links in the show notes. So if you're really interested, please click on the links and find out more. Even more about Shareef Haddad, and perhaps we'll talk more in the future as some of his projects come to fruition. And there you go. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. If you want to tell your story, I encourage you. Give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here. If you like what you hear, follow What Makes You Famous social media. Use the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Follow on Facebook at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Instagram at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Twitter at Makes Famous. And follow on YouTube at Keys Dan. Leave What Makes You Famous podcast a review and subscribe. Listen to What Makes You Famous podcast on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, and almost anywhere you find podcasts. Tell your story on my podcast, What Makes You Famous. Call 501-470-6386 and leave a message to set up a time. You can support What Makes You Famous using the PayPal link, paypal.me/KeysDan. Email info@radiowhat.com. What Makes You Famous podcast is a production of Keys Dan Enterprises Incorporated at keysdan.com. Thank you for listening. Radio What? The music you want, with some words to live by. Be kind to animals and children. A public service message from RadioWhat.com. The music you want.
Hey guys, this is Shelly G. She said, what? Well, you are going to have to listen to the countdown to hear what I say. And make sure to keep listening to Radio What for more information and trivia. She said, what?